and
Now
realized,
talking about the loves of our life and
well, it was so Geoff noticed I got a haircut, and I was saying how I had went to the Instagram profile of someone who I love, and was rereading her, and I rediscovered a highlight of hers that talked about her cutting her hair, and yeah, just the fact that it's like you're kind of carrying around this like old dead weight that is like months ago in your life, and it's
yeah.
like damn, it's like the stuff that was from like my say like my like mustache down to like 6 inches below, and it's like, well, that was literally like 9 months ago or like 12 or 15 months ago. I don't even know, probably, yeah, probably something like that. And it's like, well, I was probably carrying it around for the wrong reasons. And
Yeah.
so
I know what that feels like.
yeah.
When I moved to the Bay Area, I had my hair pretty long and I continued to grow it for about 6 or 7 months, basically until COVID hit. And then that's when I was like, and the move up here was so hard. I mean, it was just moving from Los Angeles, like a city I love that I was born and raised in, that I had no like I thought I was going to hate it in the Bay Area. I hated
Mm.
everything about the Bay Area, at least in my head. And then I realized when I got up here and I still had that long hair, it was the same thing. It was like I'm carrying baggage around. Things are good up
Hmm.
here. I like it.
Well, fun California facts. I'm back in California right now after a solid 6 month sprint in New York,
That's it.
where
You're
I
back. You're back permanently now,
no,
or
no, no,
oh,
no,
okay.
no, just visiting. I skipped the holidays, so yeah, it's now March 21st. Yeah, I went out there, yeah, September 19th. So yeah, it's like 6 months to the day almost.
Hmm.
So yeah, no, figured come back, kind of see my parents, see old friends, kind of remember what I left and remember the pace of life here. Um, and yeah, I'll go back later this week.
When you were saying that you were like you went to this old friend's Instagram page, I had this like image in my head of you like going to visit someone, like
Yeah.
almost like physically going to check
Hmm.
in on them.
Yeah. Well, yeah, this is how we sort of access each other these days when we don't see each other in person because we live in different cities. Um, but
Totally.
yeah, yeah.
Totally. Well, I so we've been wanting to get together and record because it's been some changes in my online life recently.
Jeffrey
The
J. Yeah, at Jeffrey JJ Byron has been taking his toe in and out of the water of Twitter, and we've lost him for a few days. And when that happens, that means that Geoff has gotten texts from me with links to tweets I thought he would like. So Twitter is reaching you through me because you are part of that community, and it seems like you've decidedly taken yourself out of the community, which may not be just your choice, because all of a sudden you've taken yourself off the record, and you know your identity is sort of social and collective once you start giving yourself to the internet. But I wonder if you think that's true, if you agree.
I don't know. I guess I well, first of all, I knew that it wasn't a uh permanent change. It's not permanent yet. Like you have 30 days for it to be permanent when you delete your
Mm-hmm.
Twitter account. And and I actually probably would have deleted it anyway, but I'm glad they give you that 30-day window because I mean, you don't quite realize how addicted to the platform you are, or just how valuable it is, like what it does for your life. Like, what are the good things? When you're bombarded with things that you don't like about something, it's hard to see what it's adding to your life. And that's shitty because I met you through Twitter and
Hmm.
you send me messages all the time and I like those. And so it's kind of blinding when I'm like, I hate everything about this thing. And it obviously isn't true. It's just like it's an emotional response. But but at the same time, for at least like the first week or two, or even now, like I still feel what I felt like what Twitter was doing to my brain was not. Maybe it's the war. Maybe it's
Mm-hmm.
like just because I have a different way of looking at the life at the world. I have a different way of looking at the world than a lot of people who talk about political things, and I'm usually just I find that Twitter it's easy to step into an echo chamber that is not yours, and that like hurts. It's like an electric fence or something.
Mm.
And and I didn't like that, and I thought I don't want to deal with a computer program that is pushing me this way or that way. And um yeah, that was what I felt like. And I thought I already had my hands full with Instagram and, whatever is left over of Facebook and stuff like that. I was putting time and energy into reading and occasionally posting on Twitter. And for what, really? Like, so I could meet new people and stay in touch with people. Well, I've managed to stay in touch with you on other platforms, and I've I I'm not sure if Instagram is a good alternative. There's a lot I don't like about Instagram also. But yeah, that's
Hmm.
as to is my like is my do I feel like I was thinking very individualistic about it, thinking that what I was doing was for me and I would be the only one that cared and no one would even notice. That's what I thought.
Hmm.
Yeah. And I don't think many people did notice, but you did.
Well, the thing that jumps out to me from that is when you say it's a computer program that has control of you, and I sort of will disagree there. I mean, I think it brings you into seeing what other people are saying, and to me, a thick skin and Ernest Hemingway says that any writer needs a shockproof shit detector. Um, so I feel like to survive on Twitter, you have to just see everything that people are saying. See it as not spam and not misinformation, but it's totally anecdote, and it's like their own emotional impulses. That's what ends up filling the Twitter feed. Is
Yeah.
like endorphins. Is like you have to put this reactive energy somewhere out of you. Um, and that, I mean, it's really just like therapy. And I mean, I think this goes from the enraged troll and political idiot all the way to I mean, that I sort of believe writing is like a biological imperative and a way to be sane and to not let your mind spin itself into overheating and combustion. It's like you need to put yourself out of yourself in order to survive, which is I think why musicians do it too. It's like you have to get the noise out somehow.
Yeah, I think that I was pretty good at dealing with that about Twitter for a while. Yeah, I never really had much reaction to the emotional response machine that Twitter can be. Like I'd never really like maybe in the past there are times when it got to me. I mean, I had another podcast. The main reason that I'm even on Twitter is because I had another podcast and we needed a way to promote it. And most of the activity in that world, in that industry, in that community was on Twitter. So that was where we were engaging with people. And even from the very beginning, my experience with it was kind of negative because I had a partner that was very kind of aggressive on Twitter.
Hmm.
And he had no problem with people not liking him. He was going to speak his mind and he was going to be very like assertive about it. And when he was in it, he had an issue like where even when he was wrong and obviously wrong, there was nothing that could really touch him. And so we had this good cop, bad cop relationship that was really stressful on me because I'm trying to build relationships, I'm trying to build bridges, I'm trying to grow. And I'm working with somebody who is like, bang, bang,
Hmm.
explode.
Hmm. Hmm.
And so when that stopped, I thought, wow, Twitter's actually Twitter's fine. Like I don't have an issue with Twitter as long as I'm not trying to, you know, keep bridges from burning.
Hmm.
And then so when things do kind of happen where, like, so one thing, and I told you about it, was I made a comment on Noah, one of Noah Smith's posts, and he was retweeting somebody else. It was a subtweet where he was criticizing somebody, or he was mocking somebody for talking about how NATO is a part of him is a came from imperialism. And
Hmm.
I my response to that was like, well, I mean, isn't it? I mean, like, which was a dumb thing to say when he's already mocking somebody for saying that, because Noah has an army of people who believe in the things that he does, who are ready to kind of jump all over that and make an example out of me. But the funny thing is like, in those situations, I'm usually down to learn, and I'm down to kind of adapt. And I'm not somebody who's going to argue and say, oh, no, I'm right and you're wrong, and then continue with emotional responses for the next week. Usually I'm like, oh, yeah, well, I didn't really know that was that cut and clear. I didn't really, one of the responses was, no, countries can choose whether they want to join NATO or not. They're not forced into it by the
Hmm.
US government. And I thought, oh, well, I didn't really know it was that simple. I figured that there was all kinds of crazy politics involved. So, like, learn something new every day.
Hmm.
And after kind of turning away from it, because I would see 50 to 100 mentions or whatever, or notifications, and I'd be like, I'm not going to look at
Whoa, that's a
that.
lot.
Oh, it was crazy. It was less like people basically like, look at this idiot talking about how NATO is imperialism. And my tweet was not even that. My tweet was, isn't it? My tweet was a question, not a statement. But you know, but all of that gets misconstrued on the internet. And I'm a pretty mild guy who's open minded, so and I just thought, wow. And then after thinking about it for a few days, I was like, no, it's fucking all that, like, it totally is imperialism. I was like, I think I'm not wrong about this,
Hmm.
but that's not that's where I look at the world in a different way than any of them. And it's kind of like, if I'm gonna engage in that world, I need to, like, understand that I don't need to talk to any of those people to learn from them, really. Like, there's no point in
Right.
me replying. Like, what was the purpose of me replying? I replied because I wanted to hear Noah say how it actually wasn't imperial. How
Hmm.
military expansion is not related to imperialism is what I wanted him to talk about.
Hmm.
But that was
Yeah.
kind of beneath him because it's too obvious. I'll let my trolls deal with you instead.
Hmm.
Um,
Well, I mean, it's like you're thinking out loud, right? Now he's someone who has an enormous platform and he can't respond to everyone, right? And this is right, like you and he are like really really good friends, and like it's always interesting whenever I have good friends who kind of talk to me in public. I have to treat them objectively, and like sometimes, like if their comment isn't that smart, I might not like it and I might not reply to it,
I
which
didn't.
is not
Yeah.
personal, but it's like, well, if we're playing the me in public game, I keep my bar really high, and that I have to just like let people respond, but I don't engage with everything. I
I,
only engage with things that move
yes.
me forward.
I get that, and I wasn't necessarily expecting Noah to reply, but I was
Hmm.
expecting maybe someone else from his followers to
Yeah.
reply, and people did. People educated me, so to speak. But I feel like it was, one of the things that Noah deals with all day is left wing trolls, like people who are like basically, you know, pro Russia, like people who have, you know, that I think he has more to deal with from the left than he does with conservatives. That's his battle, is like often, you know, arguing with idealistic woke left wing
Mm.
radicals, basically. And so I think his followers they're expecting that. They're expecting the talking points. They're expecting that. So when they have an opportunity to jump on it, then they do. And I think probably my tweet kind of sounded like a left-wing idiot,
Hmm.
probably from their perspective.
Hmm.
Um, and I am kind of a left-wing idiot. I mean, I am. That's the way I see the world. I see the world as most of the war and damage was from imperialism. So that's kind of the
Yeah.
first thing I thought. Oh, like U.S. and Europe military expansion. That kind of sounds like imperialism to me. You mean I mean, well, if uh, I yeah, but but I understand that in the context of what's going on today, it's very very different, and that's not like
Yeah.
right now the most of the world wants peace, and that's what's going on. We're not moving into Eastern Europe trying to conquer it. That's what Russia is doing, right? So
The direction I want to take this is
yeah, take it somewhere else.
almost like I mean I feel like musicians and artists and writers and thinkers and creative people, I feel like talking about politics is one of the final top layer of having a platform.
You're right. It is.
And so I almost want to say like when you get kind of bogged down in politics Twitter, I might say, you know what? I think we should bifurcate your mind and say, okay, on Twitter, you're doing arts and music and thinking about the human soul,
You're right.
and
You're
stick to
right.
your guns
Absolutely
there.
right.
Now, you can have a politics, of course, but um, I think only very advanced players, when it comes to crafting a politics, I think need to deal with Twitter. I think it's actually way more effective to do good newspapers and podcasts
Yeah.
that will, because like there are, like Noah is someone who's like pro grade at, Twitter is, they call it a fire hose. It's just like a very like weird wobbly wavelength, and you have to know what to look for in it. So it's almost like for advanced listeners only. Otherwise, I mean, it's almost like surfing in waves, and it's like a very violent sea.
You're right.
If
It is.
and it would be better to like play to your strengths.
Yeah. Well, you're 100% right. And I think that like when I replied, I thought I was on the bunny slopes. I didn't
Hmm.
realize I was in a double black diamond,
Yeah,
or like basically I didn't know I was in NASCAR. I thought I was like basically
yeah,
in the bumper cars, and I didn't think
uh
anybody
huh.
was going to care about what I said. Like, why should they? I've got 300 followers, and I'm no one, and like that's I did kind of feel like I was in Santa Cruz trying to catch a wave with all the locals. Like it was
Well,
kind of like for a moment I thought yeah, I honestly I didn't think anyone was going to notice or care or anything really. I didn't even think Noah would. But I think that I when I'm on see, so one of the ways that I use Twitter is I just kind of I let my mind wander, and I usually don't respond. I don't really engage that much. Um, and sometimes when I do, I almost use it like I feel like maybe I get confused about what is Twitter and what is Instagram, because it's totally normal for someone to comment on, like, I'm commenting on my friend's post.
mhm.
That's what I'm doing, right? It's a totally normal thing to do on Facebook or Instagram or anything else. But on Twitter, it's like a totally different thing.
Well,
You're like trying
hmm.
to stick your foot in the conversation, which I didn't really mean to do, and I shouldn't have. I should stick to art and music, and I'd be much happier if I did that, probably.
Well, let's see what we have to say about art and music these days. We can come back to talking about the war. We can even try to talk about, you know, NATO and the war. I mean, I'm very interested in Putin's tragic masculinity and trying to cling on to a mommy figure, and he's trying to get control. He's like an only child toddler who
Yeah.
wants all the toys.
Well, the one thing that you kind of made clear is that like if there's anything to learn from this, and if it's like why did I leave Twitter? It's because I didn't know what I was doing there, basically. You know? I didn't know what I was doing there, and I didn't know where I was trying to go. And so I just thought this is just a distraction to
But
me.
yeah. Now, what I do like about this story is that the people who replied to you didn't care that you were a nobody. You had 300 followers. It's like what Twitter can be really good sometimes because the strength of your ideas and the potency of your curiosity and your sensibility can earn you attention and respect. They don't care, what your name is, where you're from, what you do for a living. They care, do you have something good to say that's original and unique and insightful? And, maybe you didn't try your best to ask a good question. But it also sounds like, you asked a question and, you got, hell, I've never had 50 notifications.
Oh my god. It wasn't something
Um,
I was. It wasn't that. It's not
you
something I
know,
wanted.
but you need to learn how to sort through, right? Because they are just as flippant as you are, right?
Yeah.
Your comment was flippant, and so theirs will be as well, right? It seems like there's people who spend all day online who have nothing better to do than just to say the first little witty zinger that comes to their head, and they'll just do
Yeah.
that all day, and it's like,
Yeah.
damn, like I
That's
guess
there's an
that's one way
art
to live, even though
that.
that is sort of like the way that I live. So it probably seems stupid because I'm trying to wake myself up, being like, "Yo, you're the idiot that you see in the world."
Well, what's weird is that like there have always been people who are good at that. Now we just have a place for them to go. Oh, it's like there have always
Yeah.
been people who are really good at replying to things and responding to things and having opinions.
Well, I mean,
Now
everyone
we
has an
just have a place.
opinion. Everyone has an opinion,
Yeah,
and
but some
everyone's a
people are good at
critic.
saying like clever, witty things and getting laughs for it.
Yeah.
Now it's like now we've got a genre for that.
Hmm.
Twitter is a genre.
I mean, but there's so many sides of it. Like, and there's so
There's
many different kinds
subgenres.
of people who are there. Yeah. I mean, it's like a language. I mean, it's like a meeting place. It's like a city. Like you could never call New York or LA a genre. I mean, you can if you have the need to say what a thing is, but it's not a complete label at all because each of those things is a whole universe of people and ideas and language and mishmash of hunger and rage and sadness and memory and grit and endurance.
Yeah. Well, what I want to use social media for more is a place to share what I'm doing. Like that's what I want. I want to create content like that.
So here, yes.
Yeah. And
Well,
that's what I would like to do, but I get distracted and then I kind of just end up becoming a pedestrian. And
Well, here's what I think I've learned is that you have to be the fan to others that you want for yourself. So if
hmm,
you want to go there to share, right, you have to sort of earn and create the goodwill with others. Um, right? I mean,
sure. That's what it
like
was like having a podcast. Yeah,
like
it's the same thing.
go read and respond, like go engage with other people's work in a way that you wish people engaged with yours.
Hmm.
And oddly, that is what creates it. I don't know how it happens. It may be starting like magic or like simultaneity or some sort of like magical physics where
Mm.
if you go look at someone else's art or music or listen to their ideas and engage with it
Yeah.
and be the reader and listener that you want for yours, somehow, magically, you're going and doing it makes it so others do it to you.
I'm even at the place right now where I'm not even playing that game. Like I'm there are a lot of creators that are looking for ways to get eyeballs on what they're doing, get followers, get likes, get and I'm not even maybe at some point soon I will be there, but right now I just want a place to I just want to I want a creative dumping ground is what I want. And
Well, I mean, like that's there, right? And like
it is.
that doesn't need any follower but you, right?
Yeah.
Again, I've been writing seriously and treating myself like a professional for 7 to 10 years now, and it's like I still don't think that there's probably 5 or 12 people who like follow the stuff that I write,
Mm.
um, which is fine because I really don't need more feedback. It's no longer a feedback game from others anymore. It's a how does it make me feel what I've just said, and then you constantly keep going.
That sounds nice.
Yeah, I think it's the pure path. I like this idea from the poet T.S. Eliot. He says, the progress of an artist is you're continually sacrificing what you are to become what you are not yet. So it's a continual extinction of personality.
And you're like, it's almost like you're like a street artist or something. Like,
Uh, I think I like to think I sort of, yeah. The energy that happens of, again, like writing a tweet, like that's kind of like been my form. There's a magic to it when you know that what you're putting down is going to end up being seen and it's going to count, even if it's just my own accounting of my own efforts. But it's magical when you're making something is going to be real. There's sort of no feeling like it.
yeah.
Um,
Well, I will probably give Twitter another chance, and I'll probably do it in a completely different way. Just, I mean,
yeah, reinvent yourself. Reinvent
I would
yourself.
love to do that because a lot of what I have on there right now is kind of remnants of a failed podcast, or not failed podcast, but a
That's a
podcast
good
that
title for this episode. Maybe we can make this a failed podcast. Here
remnants
are
of
our
a failed.
remnants of a failed podcast.
It's remnants of a failed podcast, and a lot of like burned bridges that a lot of burned bridges I did my best to like, you know, like keep keep them roped together. And like that's
Hmm.
it. Like what was it, like maybe 30 people I met through crypto that I don't even really have much in common with. And then like maybe a few people who follow me for music stuff, and that's it. And that's that I think part of the problem is when I go on Twitter, I don't really know what I'm doing there. Like it's not readily apparent. So if I reinvent myself and say this is what I'm using it for, this is what I'm doing, then I think that might be easier. If I say this is what I'm doing and I don't care who cares, really. Not right
Right.
now. I'm
Yeah.
just going to do it. I'm just going to be a street artist in the desert.
Well, yeah. It's a free space, and there's something about it because blockchain's not the right word for it. I sort of more liberally use the term the record. Like when you're doing it on the record and there's a timestamp and it's like done in a place, right? To do things on the internet sort of creates a continuity from your past to the present when you've got the timestamps there. Um,
If you want people to unfollow you, you can just block them and unblock them, right?
yeah,
And then they have to.
it's called a soft block.
I see.
If you
That's
want
kind of
to,
nice because I think I would like some people to stop following me.
well, because it also totally resets the clock, right? Yeah, well, because it's a good question. Because you'll find out, who would miss you if you're gone.
Yeah.
You know, Now, how amazing would it be to get your followers all the way down to zero? And almost it's like, well, give it 3 months, and it's like you might only find that 12 or 18 or 24 people realize they'd stop seeing you, and they'd have to go find you again.
So a friend of mine, Jackson Palmer, the creator of Dogecoin, he somebody who I met through the failed podcast, he actually did that. He quit Twitter, but he wanted to keep his Twitter account because first of all, didn't want scammers taking his name, so he didn't completely ditch it. But also, he just wanted to stay following some people. He didn't want to engage at all. He didn't want people following him. So he actually wrote a Python script that blocked and unblocked everyone until
Nice.
the point where he had no followers left, and that was like 50,000 followers. So
That's
So
great.
he might let me borrow that if I want to get rid of my
Yeah,
300
what
followers.
yeah, I mean like that's a good test. I mean, I've sort of been having the idea too, like if the internet's clearly going to be around for a long, long time. And I like this notion of like we should put ourselves in order with nature and that we should take advantage of winter. We should almost like it would be very extreme to like wipe the whole internet or like wipe all of our own profiles and like content buckets, call it.
Hmm.
But maybe with followers, I think it's a healthy thing to sort of have seasons and that like you have to
Seasons.
rebuild your whole digital self every spring. I think it would make things a lot better.
It would be
I think it would be a
pretty
lot more
interesting.
natural. Like,
I,
and it's like, well, we should have to rewrite our about me pages every day, right? I think a lot about these Japanese artists who would make very elaborate drawings in water on
mm,
rocks, and that the sun would come and it would dry the
yeah,
whole
it's
painting
like
up.
sand painting. Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
I think that would be cool. Maybe we should make a social media platform that just deletes your account after after 3 months, and you
well,
have to
I
create a
mean,
new
because it
one.
all depends who's there, right? I mean, Twitter can be magical. There are some accounts that delete their stuff every 30 days, which I always thought was a disservice to the
Uh,
world, and I still think I stand by that because I love seeing what was said in
oh yeah,
2016 and
definitely.
2014,
I didn't realize the value of Instagram until I realized,
2010.
like, one of the things that I think when Facebook bought Instagram for $1 billion or whatever, I was like, oh, why would they? It's just a place to put photos. And I'm like, oh, it's a place to put all the photos. That's really valuable. Like,
Well,
I
it's a place
mean,
to put all the attention. It's not
well,
the
it's
photos are there. It's that.
well, no, but back then it was just photos. So it was literally just Facebook was investing in they 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 realized before anyone else that there was value in the place that people stored all the things that they loved, basically all the things that they digitized
Hmm.
and loved, and and I didn't join Instagram until kind of relatively recently, but my wife, her Instagram is really fun to go back through because I'm in
Hmm.
it. Like
Huh.
it's fun. I mean, it's fun to go back and be like, holy shit, this was in like 2009. I can't believe it. We weren't dating that yet then, and she's got a picture
Hmm.
of me. Things like that is
Hmm.
it's fun. And that's very personal and touching. But if you're an artist, then that's great too. Nothing like having a nothing like one of the things that one of the things that we should all do, whether we're artists or not, is journal, is like make notes of what we're doing. I wish, man, so many people who are older than me said you should write down. If you're going on tour with a band, you should journal it. You should write it down because man, when you're older, you're gonna want to read that. You want to transport yourself back to those feelings you were having and stuff like
Hmm.
that. Which I with that I wish I did. I wish I did that, but social media kind of gives us a chance to do that and makes it very easy for us to do that, to journal what we're doing. But I think in order for it to really work well, you can't be too precious about what you
No, you can't. I
share.
mean, you should. I've sort of tried to get myself to the point where writing and not writing are indistinguishable, and that it's just as easy to write and not write,
Uh-huh.
and that there's what I think I've gotten rid of is sense of shame and sense of fear, where it's like if I'm thinking it, I don't mind putting it out there, right? I've totally eliminated work life balance. I've built my life around the destruction of that line. That's really what I've done. I'm saying, okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to live and think out loud and not do anything to not do that. Right? I've had to fight against this urge to get a job for a long time. Um, where it's like, no, like I am my job. I'm going to make myself a job. And yeah, it's free thinking out loud. And you know what? Like I need to do it more. Like I'm it's not that I'm getting too precious, but I've heard it said that like habit destroys art, which I think I can see it happening. I can see myself uh, getting very orderly, um,
Huh.
which has its upsides.
Mm.
But yeah, I'm afraid I'm not going crazy enough. And I mean, if you want to make it, you have.
Such a youthful thought, isn't it?
Well, I mean, because if you want to make it as a pro, you have to be desperate, and you can't lose the desperation, right? Desperation is a solution to everything,
Uh,
especially when you're old and wise, right?
I definitely
22-year-old desperation is whatever, but you and I aren't
I'm not
young
desperate
anymore.
enough.
I'm at least youngish.
I
Do you
feel
think you're
young.
youngish?
Not as youngish as you are.
That's a good title. Not as youngish as you are.
Like I still feel like I have plenty of youthful energy, but there's this saying in Alcoholics Anonymous that the road narrows as you age.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, I have fewer options. Like right now, like my wife and I are trying to have a baby. Like
I
that's
didn't know that.
well, I
That's
mean,
great.
I never thought that I was going to be in a situation where I would say we're trying to have a baby, but like that's not only like that's like a big responsibility that we want to take on, but it's like it's a lot of work. I mean, turns out I have really shitty sperm, so like it's not as easy as it should be. It's not as easy as it is for other people. So it's like
Well,
all of a sudden, like not only like so what does this have to do with being youthful or whatever? It's like basically it's a reminder that I have to take care of myself. I've got to take care of my body. I've got to take care of my wife. I've got to like basically do all these things to make sure that, she's not getting any younger. She's 39 years old. So it's like we're basically at the upper age of being able to have kids, which means that you really have to be on it. Like I can't be whimsical and kind of insane and desperate. I can't
hmm.
because I want to make sure that I don't miss out on certain things in my life, basically. So the road
Well,
narrows. There's only
hmm.
so many things I can do. I wish I could quit my job and just make music for a living and post on travel and DJ and whatever. Like I wish I could do that, and I probably could 10 years ago. I probably could have done that. I probably could have thrown everything out the window and still been okay. I would have been poor and hungry and desperate, but could have happened. Now I don't know if I can do that. Or if it would be a very irresponsible thing to do. Um, so yeah, I feel like in that way, I am not as youngish as you are because you just moved to another city.
Yeah. I mean,
It's a whimsical decision.
uh, uh, okay. So there's like there's a 6-car pileup of things I had to say. First, I was going to say enjoy your adversity, which is another good possible title for this episode. As far as trying to have a baby, I mean, talk about a job that you can get used to, having sex with your wife. No offense. I don't know why I said that. Anyway, it's a bad joke. We should delete this part. What was I going to say? I just all I don't know. I mean, I just hate the move of like, well, time to stop being brave. Time to turn the volume down. Time to play logical. Let's get the spreadsheets out. Let's get the calendar out. Well, I got to do this. I'm a sound designer, Jeffrey J. Byron. I'm looking for these clients. It's almost like you've gone too far to close up shop, and it's like if you shut down the circus now, it actually may be a bad business decision because you're sort of I don't know. It's like I think you haven't reached your zone of genius yet.
You're
And
probably
it's
right.
like,
Yeah.
no, it's like I don't want to attend someone's show when they're like, well, I decided to play it safe and start going logical. It's like, no, it's my mind would so reject that. Anything that comes out of that, it's like I will be totally repelled from because it doesn't make me come alive. Because it's
Yeah.
not an opening up, it's a closing down.
Well, I
It's the
hope you.
opposite of what you should do.
Yeah, and I hope you feel that way forever. I hope you feel that way
I hope you
forever.
feel that. I hope you feel that way forever. I'm actually not that afraid for my like. I don't. Like I think I'm beyond bored. I don't think I can ever close down again. I'd rather die than be bored. Now that's
I
easy for now. You have more of a real life. I've kept myself real lifeless.
The only reason I have
I've
more of a real life is because I have a partnership with another person that I live with that we want to make plans to get old together. So that's like a project we're working on. And I think that's like
working on getting old together like
basically,
that.
yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, like it's a project that we're working on together, just like the band that we played in. We used to play in a band.
Right.
Now we're now we're playing in life, whatever. But I think that's the only thing. Like other than that, like do still feel that way. Now, I think that I have a lot of freedom with what I do, like what I do for a living, and I can work my own hours. I When I teach, it's like hours are always different, and I love my students and all this stuff. And so it's like in a way I don't want to fuck anything up because I really like what I
Mm,
have. And
mm-hmm.
I don't, yeah, I don't, yeah, it's kind of like I think I've lived a lot of my life in fear of having to close up and just go get a 9 to 5 and whatever. Like that's what I have never wanted. I would rather make lame music for clients than do that. In fact, I'm totally happy making lame music for clients.
Yeah.
I love doing it.
I like your music and
Yeah.
I like your client and like they're I wish I was like happy doing something that someone needed me to do for them. I sort of
Yeah.
have that with like writing haiku for party guests.
Oh, right.
Um
Yeah. That's a cool thing.
but yeah, it's hard
I
to
thought
go.
that as I got
I'm not
older,
in charge of getting clients for that.
I thought as I got older, I would get worse at being creative.
No.
You know what though? There are some things that change, at least for me. And like I fight them and I don't think I should, but like first of all, when I was in my 20s, I had unlimited amounts of creative energy. I could write like 10 songs in a day. Just like and like I would kind of hate all of them. And you know what? Like and they would all be good. But I would hate them all. And and like I wouldn't find anything special in that. Like to me they wouldn't be that valuable because I could do it so easily. And as I started to get older, I realized I couldn't do that. Like I just didn't have it in me to do that. Like I I could maybe make one song a day. And then I started to realize that I did not value that creativity that I had when I was younger. So I
Hmm.
think that a lot of getting older for me is trying to like really savor that creativity that I have because I feel like it's not slipping away, but it's changing. It's different now. Now my creativity is not what I can create out of nothing. It's kind of the way I see the world and what I notice
Yeah.
in other people and how I communicate with others and things like that. It's a much deeper version of creativity, and
Yes.
it's and it's more mature in a way. It's like more it's more philosophical. It's more emotional in a lot of ways.
Hmm.
I didn't realize that I was going to get more emotion as I got older. It's not that it's not that I'm more emotional. It's that I have deeper emotions, way deeper
Hmm.
emotions. When I was younger, I'm not now looking back from being a preteen to a teenager, being in college in my 20s, 30s, every step of the way, my emotions got deeper and deeper and deeper. And in fact, when I was in high
Hmm.
school, they were pretty shallow. And
Yeah.
even though they felt like deep as the deep as the blue ocean at the time, like pretty much they were black and white or they were primary colors, and pretty much everybody who looked at me could tell me what that color was.
Hmm.
And now it's like, no, man, it's vast. It's and I think that that's trying to put that into something as simple as a song is really hard because it's like it becomes like this crazy melange of 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 you know spray paint and glitter and dyed macaroni and whatever else we make art with,
Well,
finger
I
paints.
mean, do you find yourself stopping yourself from making a mess? and by that I mean, whenever you and I try working on writing songs, for example, you
Mm-hmm.
know, that I kind of just start off by like flowing with it, with like whatever comes to mind, and just like writing it down, because it's so easy for me to just like write the word and like follow the trail of thought with my typing hands. So it's very
Mm-hmm.
easy to like make a big, like, an ever growing like list of what may be worth hearing. Um, and then, you kind of blurt a bunch of stuff out, and then you've kind of got this like thought stream. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
whoa, like there's a lot of kind of cool stuff there. And then like from there, then you start to kind of apply the, okay, what is the structure of a song? What is an interesting little fragment, right? It's almost like if you and I were writing a song on this podcast, and we had to like start coming up with like titles, right? Like we've already arrived at, 4 or 5 things that I've called out as like possible titles. It's
Mm-hmm.
like you sort of keep jamming, but it takes a long time to like get through the mess, right? We've got, 46 minutes now, and it almost feels like we kind of like just got started.
Yeah.
Um,
And I still make a mess like that for sure. Definitely. However, weirdly enough, I feel like that my standards for myself are higher now. So sometimes I'll look at the mess once I've created it
mhm.
and I've gone, no, nothing really here, you
Yep.
know? Um, and that happens all the time. In fact, that is unfortunate because when I was younger, I could always make something out of the mess. There was always something.
Mm.
And like it didn't have to be good. Um, but now I sort of have a standard. It's if there's something that keeps me from producing more, or creating more, it's that standard. How do I lower my standards for myself?
Hmm.
How do you do
Well,
how do
do
you
you,
do it? Because like how do you when you write something and you're like do you even question whether it's good or not?
um, no, I sometimes like catch myself if something feels profound and interesting, then I go to write it, and it's like that, like I can sometimes say like that's a bad line, in terms of like that's not even worth saying, and it's kind of obvious, and it's also just like a mess of a thing, of like trying to be too sweeping, like too general, too totalizing,
Uh-huh.
trying to make some like grand gesture, or like sweeping generalization or categorization. I
Yeah.
can kind of catch myself
That's a
saying, it's
black
like,
hole for me, I think. Like, because the minute I start doing that, it's like it happens to everything that I will not stop.
yeah,
And so I kind of
it's like a
feel like I
black
just
hole.
need to pull all the filters off. Um,
Yeah, and it's like I'll let myself make mistakes, right? Like I think I know how to move on from a bad line. It's, you know beating myself up over it not being good. I don't even have dim memories of that. I feel like that's been nowhere in my writing or creative life.
that's good.
Um, because I also like don't mind being mediocre, right? Like I think I've learned, and like singing has like helped, like if I go in there and I feel like I have great emotion, and I get like an emotional kind of purge through singing, even if they're not the best recordings I've done, I'll leave them up there, because it's like I don't think
Yeah.
my perfectionism serves anybody. It
Yeah.
doesn't even serve me. And it's like
Yeah.
I'm no longer mean to myself. I used to be really, really hard on myself, and now it's like, well, I don't know how long my life's going to last, because all the work and effort and thought you put into it, right? You never actually get to the secure place. So it's like, well, being an artist is never going to be sustainable. Ever, ever, ever will it be sustainable. It's, and, maybe I'm wrong about this. Because, of course, you can try to apply your strategy and finance mind, which is like sitting
Yeah.
there, and I never really actually do anything with it.
Uh-huh.
Um, but it's like, to have the freedom to think for yourself, and to believe in yourself, and to believe that essentially shit posting is the way out. And it's like, to dare to build a personal business financial life on your own unique output, like I'm just gonna be like, you know what, like I'm gonna fucking enjoy the fact that I believe this and that there's no going back. I've closed the gap. I've, I think if you make it to 35 and you still think this is your path, I think you've succeeded. You've won. Because now there's no going back. I've made myself unemployable. I'm completely unemployable, which is like a victory. Because like it's like, well, great. Well, now it's just like there's no choice but to figure it out of how to be me in the world and somehow make money not a problem and somehow eat and live and have rent and be okay. And it's like, I'm going to fucking enjoy that I'm a miracle, that I kept it together hour after hour after hour without ever letting go of the thread. Without ever,
Yeah.
I'm never going to be someone in my 60s who is going to look back fondly on this brief time that they were creative, but then they went to, sell pharmaceuticals or go something safe and predictable. And I always zoom in on those people, and it's like, why did you do it? What was it that made you play safe? Because it just leads to regret every time. Everyone who's getting older, I see, just regret, regret, regret.
I wonder. I know because I know a lot of people who gave up their creative lives for more. I don't know what you call them, and they are honestly
Safe work.
safer. Like they are honestly happier. Or at least they say they're happier.
Well, they probably are,
Especially in
because
LA and
not everyone who says they want to do art actually wants to do it. Because you have
like
to meet all your demons, you have to love all your demons, you got to sing your demons, kiss your demons, tuck your demons into bed, and then make them breakfast in the morning, and they're going to throw that food like
yeah.
a disobedient baby.
In
They're going to
LA, there's a
throw the
lot of
food.
people who worked as filmmakers. They worked really hard to try to be a director or an actor or something like that. And then they get older and then they get married and they have kids and they realize if they have kids, then they need a more, sustainable income. And
Yeah.
then they give up on the creative job. And like I ask them like, do you miss doing the creative stuff? And they go, God, no, I'm so much happier now. And I wonder if like that's just something that they have to say. It's like getting a tattoo. You're not going to hate your tattoo. You've got it the rest of your life. Like, don't tell yourself you hate your life now. Denial, if it's denial or if it actually is people just like, I don't know. But I mean, if that's true that some people were not meant to, some people don't want to be creative and they should never have tried to at the beginning. I sometimes I wonder, wait, is that me? Do I really not like it? But I don't know any other way to be, really. Honestly, I don't. And so I can't imagine. I mean, I can't like if I got a safe job, I would be gone. They would fire me so fast, probably.
Well, yeah, I mean, because yeah, it requires a certain, I don't know if groupthink is the right word, but you sort of can't run things through your moral filter.
Yeah.
Like you can't think too hard about the meaning of what you're doing. You can't think too hard about the ecological consequences of what you're doing. You have to really, really narrow your mind, I think, and you have to let the I don't know. You have to let your bosses and the executives and the shareholders kind of be your moral compass. And it's like
Well,
I'm going to operate in this 1/3 level of the atmosphere of the earth. I'm not. There are things above my pay grade. Right. I never use that term. I rarely use that term anymore, because if it's within someone's purview, I need to. My mind needs to be bigger than the world and to contain it. So I can't let anybody be my superior in term. This is interesting. Um, yeah, it's a challenge for me to kind of completely defer to someone else's judgment. I think I'm anybody's peer when it comes to critical thinking and judgment and
mhm.
thinking about consequences. I don't think anybody is totally out of my league. And
Yeah,
so if I find
that's
someone who is, it's like I need to rather than defer to them. It's like I need to step into, well, how, what do I need to do to close the gap between me and them?
Yeah, no, it's uh yeah. Well, you know, the alternative to we've got these brains that are smart enough to figure out how to survive as a creative. I
Yeah.
mean, you even said you even have an education in financial stuff or management stuff
Oh, oh,
or not, maybe not
if
an
I,
education. You have you know, we know how to do it. It's not a mystery.
no, yeah, you productize and you market, and
Yeah,
I know I could do it, but I look for every way to not have, because that feels like shutting down to me. It feels like stopping.
it does. It does feel like shutting down. So, you know, most of my students are in their early 20s and they're like ready to take on the world.
God bless them. God, I don't envy them. I don't, being younger wouldn't save my life at all. I wouldn't want to be 25 or 15 or 5 or -5.
Yeah, I
I'm
don't
happy where I am. Youth will not. Yeah,
that
I
mean
don't envy the
I
young.
think I would do great as a 25-year-old knowing what I know now, but I wouldn't know it because
But
I
would
would be
you want? But would
25.
you? But would you even want to? Because you're. I mean, if you and I thought we faced a war of egomania, I
Mhm.
mean, a 25-year-old today, I don't know.
It's I mean, I think the nice thing about today with the internet and social media is that there's lots of ways that you can find success. And like you got to work really hard at it. You got to put all your energy into it. Like, and you could still fail, but you'll find people that really love what you're doing. And that's something you can do from home. That's something you don't even have to leave your bedroom in order to get that if you really want it.
Well, I think you have to be a fan too.
Yes, of course.
I
Yes.
don't think you're gonna get people who love what you do if you don't also like. There should be like I feel like you got to do like
Yes, but you still don't have to leave your bedroom. For when I was 25, there was no way to do that. There honestly wasn't. And I'm not that's not saying it back in my day things were different. I mean,
no,
it was literally like that was not really an option. No, I mean, we had to go on tour in a van. That's what we had to do in order for anybody to even know who we were.
yeah.
And and so I feel like if I had known what I know now, like I would do great as somebody, you know, starting my career in music. But most of my students don't see it that way. They just see a big mean world that they've got to contend with, and everybody's got the same set of tools.
I don't
Everyone's
know if
going in the battle with the
contend.
same
I
everyone's
get. I
going in the battle with
mean,
the same weapons. That's the way they see it. I mean, for sure. And some of them are more delusional than others, I guess. So those are probably the ones that will
well,
be successful.
I think as long as you, I think the moment you stop trying to win, that's when you actually win. And
Maybe.
really, all you win is just the chance to have a life, right? Do
Yeah.
you actually want to give your self actualization away to others, right? A lot of people think that, getting on stage is the answer, but like it's hard to go on stage. It's hard to get up there and sing and dance and play music. You think you want to until you
Yeah.
actually go do it. And it's very funny that the doing of it weeds people out. It's like, oh, so like you want to play a 2.5 hour set? Okay, cool.
Man.
Go set it all up. Get up there. Like, let's see if you actually want to go play 14 songs. You say you want to play music? Go play 14 songs
It's
and then do it
true.
the
It's
next
true.
day and don't fucking complain.
It's
Let's
true.
see.
People
Let's
say, "Oh,
see in 3 days. Yeah, let's ask you
Geoff,
in 3 days.
Geoff, you're a musician. Oh, cool. Play us some songs." No, that's not the type of musician I am. Okay, great. You're not. You know, it's true. It's like it's definitely. Uh, our first drummer basically quit the band because he was like, "I just don't want to perform anymore. It's too like I don't." That's it's hard. It's hard.
It's hard.
It's hard and it's stressful and it's like it goes. It's all of these these kind of emotional red flags go off when you're about to do something like that. Like everything in your body tells you no, and the
Mm.
moment when everything in your body tells you yes, then you got to stop. I mean, like that's not good. I mean, that's probably the place where I got to. I was so comfortable playing on stage, playing 14 songs on stage. I loved doing it. It was all I wanted to do, and yet, uh, fortunately, even at the very end, I still got the full adrenaline rush before going on stage.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's that was by that time, it was a different thing. So, but yeah, no, be like putting yourself out there is not an easy thing to do.
No, yeah, and I mean, you sort of have to be engaged in this. It's almost like self-othering. I was mentioning this somewhere else today,
Self-othering.
where it's like you have to be making yourself for the audience, and like you're also the audience of your own self. So it's almost like you have to like kind of like detach the
Hmm.
self-actualization piece. Like right now, it's like I should let myself drift away to the side and really just let my la 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 la. I should just let myself go. Really, truly drop down into my pure madness and just start like,
Yeah.
but that with like words and like maybe ideas and yeah, I don't know. It's like maybe I've lost. I'm growing up.
I hope.
I'm also growing up where it's like, you know, going on the record and being recorded is not as much of a thrill as it was yesterday, or not yesterday, but like 5 years ago. Like it's a thrill to see yourself on screen, but now it's like we're gonna be living around these recording devices forever or the rest of our lives,
Yeah.
and you got to up the ante. And there's also like no rush because like it's the day is always going to be there. And I think this is the thing that maybe younger creatives don't want to reach is you sort of start to get older and it's like it's a very very long middle, and life is a very long marathon, and yeah, no one
Wow.
lines up for what you do in a lot of the time.
Well, I hope you never lose that instinct to go.
Yeah.
Because that instinct does kind of that when that is when that is your immediate response to pretty much anything, or that's what you do when that's your lowest common denominator is that state.
Uh-huh.
uh I feel like that's not my lowest common denominator state anymore. It's
What
not the
is it?
state that,
Check email.
what is it? What is it? I think it's probably to talk to myself, but it's to talk to myself about it's it's not in a it's not in a playful way, not as much.
Hmm.
I guess it can be. It can be.
Sperm
Um,
count, dollar count, calorie count.
I got to worry about all those things.
You got to check your vital signs.
Yeah. All right. Well, this has been a good hour
Solid.
on the art machine. Remnants of a failed podcast.
There were
This is
some other good ones.
this has been a successful podcast in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, if you remember any of those other titles, that was the only one that I wrote down at first because I wasn't
Okay.
thinking about it.
Well, do you
But
want to listen to it back
yeah,
before we decide what the title is?
yeah, let's listen to it back.
Okay.
All right, Jeff. Well, it's good to talk to you. Thanks for
You too, man.
inspiring me again.
Yeah, for sure. No, this is great.
I'll probably come back to Twitter. I'm not
Cool.
gone.
Okay.
Just needed a break.
Well, I'll send you stuff that reminds me of you.
Okay.
And